Welcome everyone, this is Brandon Sturkey with Advisors Edge Marketing. Excited to be sitting down with you today with Garry Weiss of Landers Weiss & Company, a local, very well-known CPA firm here in my marketplace. Wanted to get together today and give you the opportunity to hear from Garry as a CPA for a number of years, also having transitioned as a financial advisor within the CPA practice, to give you some insight of what some of the challenges have been as Garry and his firm have worked to integrate financial services into what they offer. So Garry, I appreciate you being here today and sitting down with us.
Brandon, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. If you wouldn't mind, just start off, I've known you now for a little while, but maybe just talk a little bit about who Landers Weiss & Company is and how you guys got your start.
Well, we're a local firm here in town, and we started out, my senior partner started the firm as a single sole proprietor in 1969. I joined the firm in 1980 and became a partner in 1986.
Okay.
And I've been with the firm ever since.
Excellent. Okay. And so you were a CPA right out of school, got your CPA after you got your degree, and you've been a CPA as long as you've been in practice, or?
No, actually, right out of school, I was in private accounting for 4 years, industry and local contractor.
Okay.
And then I went to work in the public accounting field and got my CPA 2 years after that.
Okay, excellent. Well, I know Landers Weiss & Company has a great reputation here in town. You've been around for a long time, so we know that you know what you're talking about when it comes to this stuff. And so we're interested to hear, because I know that you've shared in past conversations that Landers Weiss & Company now offers in-house wealth management and financial planning services. So I'm curious if you would just talk a little bit about how did you initially make that transition? What was it about offering financial services that when you and your partners looked at that opportunity said, this is something that we should look at?
Well, Brandon, I'm glad you asked that. We were working with some local advisors and weren't getting really good results from that. So a seminar came up that introduced CPAs and financial advisors, and I think there was also a law change that allowed us to do that. Prior to that, we weren't allowed to do anything on a commission basis. Once that law changed, it opened up the field for financial services, and I attended that seminar and learned a little bit about it, and we discussed it back at the office, how we could better serve the clients and how we were pretty much the ideal people to provide financial services for our clients, because we already knew so much about the financial situations of each of our clients.
Sure.
So it just seemed like a natural transition, and it had pretty good profit potential also. So
okay, so not only the profit potential, obviously, as every business owner looks at, but also, did you feel that in any way the industry was kind of going that way, or even now today, do you see the trend kind of showing that that's becoming more popular?
Well, that was sort of, we weren't at the very beginning, but that was kind of the beginning of it. Like I said, because of the law change. In other states, it had been going for a while. Missouri was a little slow to get on board.
Okay.
So we kind of got in on the beginning, but it wasn't the very beginning. And I think it's trended that way quite a bit since then.
Now, and I couldn't agree more with one of the things you said, and that was you're already well positioned. You are the most trusted advisor. All of us as advisors know that the CPAs look to, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you have a forced relationship built into your process. You have to meet every year, where not every advisor, as much as we might say we like to, not every advisor does meet with their clients every year. So when you work with the clients like you guys have for 10, 15, 20 plus years, you're going to have a pretty strong relationship. So how much of the decision to offer financial services at your firm came out of pressure from clients or questions from clients? I mean, I would imagine you get a lot of questions and people looking for help on stuff that is not related to their tax plan, but is related to their financial plan.
Yeah, that happens quite often, and before we were able to actually offer the services, like I said, we would try to team up with different people in town to try to provide those services for the client. Afterwards, it put us in the unique position of being able to not only work with them in the tax-related aspects of that, but also to help them out with the financial side, the planning and the insurance needs and all of that goes along with it.
Sure.
And it was just a complete picture for us and for the client. And the client really appreciated that.
Sure.
It was basically a one-stop place where they could go. They didn't have their investments spread all over town. They didn't have an insurance guy here and an advisor guy there and their tax guy here. They could do it all in one place. And
sure.
And that was easier bring all the information together and to make that work.
Yeah, and I think some of the stuff I've read even recently in the past month, I read an article in one of the CPA trade journals that's the exact issue clients are having is we're all stretched too thin, we all have too many demands on our time, and trying to coordinate all the different pieces and players in your financial picture in and of itself can be a challenge. So
Exactly. Yes.
so yeah, that you guys obviously saw that as well. So when you started, and you said you've been offering financial services now for how long?
We started in 2002, the late fall of 2002, yes.
Okay. So in that amount of time, you obviously spearheaded that. You became the advisor in-house. How did that come about? How did you decide who would become the advisor, and maybe what other roads did you try and go down, or how did you initially decide how you would roll this out to your clients?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story. The broker-dealer that we started out with was offering an in-house advisor for us, and we had to get licensed, of course, to be able to share commissions and do that sort of thing. But the deal with them was to bring in an advisor who would work in-house through our client base. And they did all the interviewing for the person, and then they brought us several people to talk to and interview. And the process took longer than we thought it would, and we didn't really get the quality that we thought we were going to get. So we tried that for a while, and it just really didn't work out.
Okay.
I think part of the reason it didn't work out is that if we had a successful advisor who already had a really good book of business, they weren't that interested in coming and sharing with us.
Sure.
And if they weren't a very good advisor, they were looking for us to provide them a lot of feeds, but there was a reason they weren't a very good advisor.
Right.
So after we kind of experimented with that and that didn't really work out very well, then I made the decision to become the financial advisor on our own and to just handle it inside the firm.
Okay, so just to recap what you said, so you actually initially, when you and your partners talked, you said, okay, let's get into the financial planning arena. So you actually went out looking for a financial advisor to bring in-house, not to hire on and pay a salary to, but just on a commission split basis, but essentially to kind of be an extension of your firm, really, in-house working with the clients, which you just happen to not find the right fit. But to me as an advisor, and I know to many advisors who are probably watching this, what a great opportunity. And I think the landscape out there today is tons of opportunity if you find the right fit and you find the right advisor.
Yes, and you have to have that good fit. And I know that there have been other firms that are associated with my broker-dealer that have been very successful doing that. That whole process has worked for them. It just didn't happen to work out for us.
So it's safe to say then, had you found the right fit, it wasn't your priority to go into becoming a financial planner. You probably would have continued to stay with what you knew.
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have just stayed on the accounting side and let them work the financial services side and had that to offer our clients. The one thing we have to keep in mind is that whatever that financial advisor is doing is an extension of our office.
Absolutely.
So our reputation is on the line too. So we have to be really careful in that area.
Yep, that makes complete sense. So then as you made that transition then, and you then began to branch out to become the advisor for the firm, what were some of the initial challenges that you faced right out of the gate?
Well, just the initial challenges would have entailed time, of course. It took a lot more time commitment to do that end of it than we were expecting to do from the beginning, because we thought all that was going to be handled by somebody else.
Sure.
So the time commitment became a little bit of a more of a challenge than we expected. It's really important that we have a good administrative assistant doing it the way we're doing it, because that helped alleviate some of that time crunch. If you got somebody who really knows what they're doing and you can kind of let them run with it,
sure,
especially all the paperwork and the detail stuff. Another challenge was just getting the word out to our clients. We had lots of clients built up, and we sent out letters telling them that we were in the business and that sort of thing now. But a lot of that apparently doesn't get read or doesn't get remembered unless there's a need at the time.
Sure.
Those who had an immediate need came on board pretty fast, but those, we found out later that as time goes by and those needs arise, they forget that we're in that business because they've kind of already got us in their mind as their tax guy.
Sure.
And they have had, for 20 years, so you can't blame them for that.
Sure.
It's something new. So we really have a challenge of keeping that in front of them and keeping them aware of what services we do offer.
Okay, so it sounds like two of the biggest challenges right out of the gate. One, and this is one I've heard from a number of CPAs and a lot of research and studies that I've read, allocation of time is probably the biggest that I've seen again and again, and that is, as you were saying, having a good assistant to kind of help take some of that time. But have you felt any pressure, even, I mean, being the sole advisor more or less in your office with the number of clients that you have, if you were effectively marketing the services, do you feel that you'd probably reach a point pretty quickly where you'd be stretched pretty thin to try and serve all the clients that may need the help?
Yeah, if at some point I'm going to have to make a decision whether I'm going to do strictly financial services or strictly accounting.
Sure.
I'm not going to be able to do the same load I'm carrying on both.
Right.
So either that or I'd have to reduce my load on both sides. And
correct.
I would probably opt for either one or the other.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I think that's, again, a lot of what I've read. And you can just imagine, I mean, as an advisor myself, if I were to think about venturing into the tax planning arena, I can already say I'm not going to do that just because I can only imagine, as much time as it takes to keep up on all the changes in our world, and then with everything that happens in the tax world, of course, and, the tax code the way, it is, I don't see how anybody could really do it effectively, which I think why you said is your number one issue. So second to that, you mentioned generating awareness of the services, and I think this is, again, something that we see again and again, and the interviews we conduct and the research that we read, that creating awareness among the clients is a challenge. So you mentioned that early on you sent out a series of letters. Do you feel like maybe if there was more consistency, is consistency in marketing been a challenge?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely has. We have to not only just put it out there one time, you've got to keep putting it out there so that I know one of the marketing nomenclatures or whatever you call it is top of mind awareness.
Right.
And we totally missed that boat.
Okay, all right.
But if we keep it top of mind, so when the need does arise, because not everybody has the need immediately.
Correct.
And so that was one thing. The other thing is we need to have everybody on board in the CPA firm. So that everybody else on board who's also very busy with their CPA work also has it in their mind that they need to be at least somewhat concentrating on the financial services side so that they can make referrals or at least spot a need and can tell us that there's a need here and be able to connect us up with the client that has that need.
Yeah, because in reality, how many CPAs and or tax preparers are there at Landers, Weiss & Company?
We've got about 8 or 9.
Okay, so 8 or 9 actually meeting with the clients. Obviously, you're not doing all the tax returns
right,
over there.
That's right.
So you get all these clients, and really CPAs and or accountants, enrolled agents that are probably looking over all kinds of planning opportunities as they're preparing the tax return, which would make an easy transition, but getting them on board initially is a challenge, and keeping them on board.
That's right.
And really educating them on how to do that.
Absolutely.
I think that makes complete sense. In terms of bringing the financial services in-house, I know you said you initially decided that was going to be you. You kind of took those reins. Were there any licensing challenges or trying to navigate the world of broker-dealers versus RIAs and which licenses to get? What was that process like?
Well, we partnered up with a company called First Global, and that company only works through CPA firms.
Okay.
So they had that process down pretty well. They kind of held our hand through the whole thing, and we immediately, first challenge was to get licensed.
Sure.
So I had to take all the exams and study for them and do that at night.
At least you had a bunch of spare time, right?
Yeah,
to do something like that.
Right, exactly. It was a good way to go to sleep.
Right.
But once we got that out of the way, then the second part of your question was
just what you ran into with maybe having to find a broker-dealer versus RIA, but
it
sounds
the
like
RIA
you started
part.
with the broker-dealer.
Yeah, the RIA part, we really weren't set up to do that yet. And the only way that really comes into play for us is if we wanted to offer services on an hourly basis.
Sure, more fee-based.
Fee-based, yeah.
Okay.
And we can do fee-based investments, but we we couldn't do the planning.
The charging a fee for the plan.
Yeah, couldn't do a fee for the plan unless you're an RIA.
Gotcha.
And there's a whole lot more state regulations and everything that comes in to play with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at that, and we actually started the process once and then kind of backed out of it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. So in all of that you talked about and everything you've experienced over the last 8 or 9 years, what do you think really, in your opinion, needs to happen for you to take? Because I know we've talked just as we've gotten to know each other about potentially our firm helping you guys out. As I don't have time to be an advisor, as I coach advisors more now, but being that you're an advisor, what do you think needs to happen to help get the financial planning arm of Landers Weiss and Company to where it needs to be?
I think we need to get a definite marketing plan, strategy, keeping our services, making our clients aware of our services, and keeping it on the top of their mind. I think once that kind of starts snowballing, we also need to find a way to extend out past our CPA client base to reach out to the rest of the community.
Sure.
And once we start doing that, then I think things like becoming our own RIA and that would become more practical and more sensible.
Sure.
And hopefully that we would get so busy doing that I'd have to do that full time.
Sure.
And I could still be a tax advisor, but I wouldn't have to be doing tax returns.
Right, exactly. Focus more on the advisor and have
Yes.
someone else do the actual return.
Yeah.
And do you feel like offering financial services makes you guys more competitive in the marketplace? So when you're competing against other tax firms, does being able to offer more services, in your opinion, make you more
Oh, absolutely.
competitive?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to market to new clients that are coming in because they don't already have us in a box that says you're the tax guy. Like our existing clients sort of have that. New clients coming in say, well, I just left this tax guy and I got an advisor over here, but this is great that you guys do both of it.
Sure.
I can do it all in one place.
Right.
So.
Well, I couldn't agree more with that. And so you've worked, the last 8 and 9 years through all these challenges, and you went out and tried to find an advisor initially. So would you say that for other CPA firms that are out there that maybe haven't gotten on board yet, but again, as we talked, as the trend is more that direction, would you say it's pretty likely there are other firms out there, high caliber firms just like you guys, that are sitting there saying, hey, in hindsight, if an advisor would come along and have a game plan, have a marketing program, and have a way of doing all this for us, that boy, we could save ourselves a lot of time and headache and implement it that way. Is that something that you think CPA firms are open to?
I would think so. I know we would have been.
Yeah, and you guys obviously have been a great partner to work with. Had I found you 2 years ago, before I got so entrenched in doing this, we've already worked together. Well, I appreciate everything that you've shared today, and I think it's been immensely helpful. I know I've enjoyed getting to know you and your practice over the last 6 to 12 months as we've been talking off and on. So I appreciate you being here, and hopefully all of you have found this to be very insightful. Again, Garry Weiss, Landers Weiss and Company. Hope you found this to be helpful, and anything we can do to help you in your endeavor to continue to work with CPAs and help them to take advantage of all the things that they're looking to do, please let us know. Thanks for watching.